This video is going to walk you through how to use the equation editor to do long division, which I want to just note is part of your communication section of your test. So the idea is on the test there's going to be a question that looks more or less exactly like the one I'm about to do with you, this example. Of course it will have different numbers, but you will respond to the question using the equation editor. And I wanted to give you the opportunity before we do that to post, if you want to practice this skill, then you could reply to this thread with your own answer. So when I'm done here, I'll make up, let's say 4 or 5 different options. And you could try a couple of them or just try one of them just to make sure you understand how the equation editor is going to work. So in order to do this, right, so I've got this divided by that, and I need to think of a way to organize this using the equation editor. So again, I'm going to go in under here, graphical equation, and what I'm going to do is go over to matrices, right? So we're going to put in a matrix or a table, and the thing is, we actually need a very big table to get this to work. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to hit table, but then we're going to go down here, and I think we're going to make it a 10 by 10. Now, I might not actually need to be quite that big, but 10 by 10. Okay, and I think we could probably shorten it a little bit for some of them, but let me go err on the side of making it too big, and then we can always switch it later. So I'm going to look back at my question for a sec, and what I want to do is, if you imagine what a division looks like the ones from the lesson are a good example, we have what we're dividing by, then we have, what we're dividing by, then the next part, and then over top of that we have the answer that goes on top, right? So I'm thinking it's going to be something like this. I'm going to put x plus 3 there, so I'm going to leave a space on the top for my answer. I'm going to put x plus 3 there. I'm going to put a bracket, an opening or closing bracket there, just to sort of show, like the way that a division sign sort of goes across, right? And then I'm going to write my question. So I'm going to go 2x to the 4, take away 14x squared. Now, actually, one of the things, so then I have, right, so let me make the mistake, and then we'll come back and look at why it's a mistake. So we have plus 4x, and then minus 19. Now, the really critical thing about polynomial division is that each column has to have the powers of x counting down by 1. So the degrees of each term has to count down by 1. If you notice in my question, I've got 2x to the 4, and then it skips all the way down to 14x squared. In other words, the x cubed column is not there. Now, it is essential when you're doing this work that every column appear. So, for example, here, although my question doesn't have an x cubed, I still have to write 0x cubed here, right? And in fact, I'll write plus 0x cubed just to make sure, so I keep the sort of operations going. And then I can continue, right? So then I can continue with 14x squared, and then I can continue with plus 4x, and then I can go with minus 19. Now, it seems like I'm not really going to need these final 3 columns, so I'm gonna delete them now, right? I mean, make yours 10 by 10, and then you can always delete whatever you don't need. Now, for this one, okay, when you're doing division, right, like they explained in the lesson, you think about the first term, and you ask yourself, if I were to multiply x by something, how would I get to 2x to the 4, right? So in other words, what would go up here so that when I multiply it by x, I get 2x to the 4? Of course, the answer is 2x cubed, right? If I take 2x cubed, multiply it by x, that is indeed going to give me 2x to the 4. However, it's also going to give me a plus 6x cubed, which has to go here, right? 2x cubed times 3 gives me 6x cubed, which is going to go here. Now, when you do the next step, right, you subtract the top row from, or you subtract, this row from the top row. So 2x to the 4, take away 2x to the 4 is 0, which it should always be because that's the way we designed it. And 0x cubed, take away 6x cubed, is negative 6x cubed, right? And that's what's going to go there. Now, the next part, we're supposed to bring down the 14x squared. So again, I think this is probably a little excessive in terms of, whether you would have to do this, but I'm going to do a downward arrow just to make my process a little easier to understand. I think if you left it blank, that would be fine. Anyway, we're going to bring down the negative 14x squared, right, which goes here. And now I repeat the process. I look at this part, negative 6x cubed minus 14x squared, right? And I'm going to I got to figure out a number that goes up here that's going to multiply by x in order to make negative 6x cubed. Of course, the answer to that is a negative 6x squared, right? A negative 6x squared is going to multiply x in order to make negative 6x cubed. Of course, when it does that, it also multiplies by the 3 in order to make negative 18x squared, right? And then we can subtract, and then we can repeat the process again and again. So negative 6x cubed, take away negative 6x cubed is 0. Negative 14x cubed, take away negative 18. Now be careful with this, because a negative take away a negative, it's going to become more positive. In this case, it becomes 4x squared. Be very careful about that, because many times people will subtract this incorrectly because they're not processing the negative correctly. For me, it takes saying it out loud to make sure I get it right. So I say negative 14x squared, take away negative 18x squared, and then I know, I don't forget what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so next thing I'm going to need to do is bring down the next value. Again, I think the arrows are kind of overkill, but I think it might be helpful just for my example, just to show. So the arrows are just over here in this arrow one, and then you click this thing to the side to get you more options. And this brings down the 4x. It brings it down. I've got to go down even further than that. It's got to go here, right? So I'll put one more arrow to do that. Okay, and at this point I can repeat the process one more time, right? So, second to last time. So once again, I have a 4x squared, and I want to bring the operator with me, plus 4x. Okay, so once again, let's just go back here, and we'll put a color on this one to just distinguish it a bit. And I want a number that goes up here that's going to multiply by x in order to make 4x squared. The answer is naturally positive 4x. Okay, positive 4x is the number that I need to make that work. So 4x times x is my 4x squared that I was looking for. 4x times 3 is 12x that goes there. Now, so I'm going to put positive just to keep that in mind. Okay, one more time. Let's subtract. 4x squared take away 4x squared is 0. 4x take away 12x is negative 8x, right? You subtract. Okay, one last time. I'm going to copy my arrow here. Paste, 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 paste. And I'm bringing down a negative 19 for the final step of my question. Once again, let's give this binomial here a highlight. We'll give it red, let's say. And I need a number up top that's going to multiply by x in order to make negative 8x. So my number is negative 8. I'll put it in red to show that it's the part that I'm interested in. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x, and negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. When I finish the question, so let's finish, right? So negative 8 take away negative 8 is 0, and negative 19 take away negative 24 is 5. Okay? Now, as they explained in the lesson, when you get to a number at the end that is a lower degree than the number you're dividing by. So you see how I'm dividing by degree 1, but my number at the end is degree 0. There is no x left on it. That is my symbol that my process is complete. And you can see that mine took exactly 10 rows. I can't think of a reason why any of them would be longer than this, because an x to the 4 is as long as they're going to get. So 10 rows down and 7 rows across seems to do it. But anyway, this last number at the end represents your remainder. So when I go to insert this, right, you can see my division process is very clear. You don't have to change the colors, by the way. I just wanted to change the colors just to show what step I was kind of working on and like where it came from. I thought that might be helpful. You don't have to do that. Just show me the values is fine. Okay, and then here I've got a division. So here is my long division, and then at the end I'm going to say my quotient, right? Which is my the answer that I got. My quotient is, and I go back up to the top, so it was 2, -6, 4, and -8. So once again, I'm just going to type that out quickly. 2x to the cubed plus 4x. I already forget what it was. Sorry, I'm terrible at this sort of thing. I think I had it in Geogebra. Okay, so sorry, minus 6x squared plus 4x minus 8. So minus 6x squared, plus 4x minus 8. So that was my quotient with a remainder of 5. And that would be my full answer. Okay? Now, just before I sign off here, though, I also, once again, want to point out the incredible power of Geogebra. Right? So I'm going to go, well, actually, let me save it in here. So let's go ahead, let's go look at Geogebra for a sec. Okay, now you can see that, let's just start from scratch, okay, so just so I can do it from the beginning. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in my question. 2x to the 4, take away 14x squared, plus 4x, take away 19. Right? That's my my question. Oh, sorry, I'm underneath my, yeah, there. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my dividend, right? Excuse me, divisor, sorry. Dividend is the question. Divisor is the thing you're dividing by. Quotient is the answer. So I'm going to type in x plus 3. Now, here's where Geogebra is excellent, okay? So I'm going to type the term division. Okay, now look at what it asks for. It says, open a bracket, what is the polynomial you want to divide? Right? Dividend, the thing that you want to be divided, and the divisor, which is the thing you want to divide. So in our situation, x plus 3 is the divisor. Let's just rename it, right? Divisor, right? And this is the dividend. Dividend. Okay? So that's what we've got there. So again, I'm just going to type them in again so that they go back to being f and g, because of that, but just so you see where I'm coming from. So I type division. Okay, now it says what polynomial and what's the divisor. So I want to divide f by g, right? So basically I type division, open a bracket, f, comma, g. F is the thing I want to be divided, g is the thing I want to divide it by. I hit enter. Now look at the miracle of Geogebra. There's the quotient. Look at my quotient, right? 2x cubed, take away 6x squared, plus 4x, take away 8. Then you see there is a comma. The comma indicates the difference between the remainder and the divisor, or the quotient, excuse me. And you can see that mine says comma 5, exactly like ours said the remainder would be 5. Now, of course, doing division with Geogebra is not going to prove on a test that you know how to do it. But it is going to make sure that your answer is right, because you can use Geogebra to check your work and make sure my answer is right, and then I can show the process using this. So it's kind of like I don't need to worry too much about my answer being right or wrong, because I know I've got the technology to back me up on that. I just need to really understand the process, and I know my final answer is going to be correct. Okay, so this is how I would expect you to do this. I guess one last thing we could say here is if we go into this equation and you end on this 5, we could go up here and say r colon 5, which just makes it a little bit clearer that the remainder is there. Whatever. I mean, you can leave it at the bottom. You can put it at the top. It doesn't matter. Or you can just write out your answer at the end. Okay. Now, one last time, I'm just going to copy out some of the Geogebra stuff, and then I will post this one. So once again, this discussion is not marked, but this discussion, you could use this discussion to practice the skill of doing division with a table. And then when when you go to the test, it's basically an easy perfect mark that you can collect. I can use Geogebra to make sure my answer's right, and I already know how to organize it correctly because I did the practice.